from the University of Waterloo. He graduated from the University of Waterloo in 1978. He's worked at IT at Waterloo since then. He's currently the Director of Client Services, Information System and Technology. For most of those 35 years, his focus has been on technology training and IT management. In his spare time, he's involved as a hockey coach and in the administration. For the past 2 years, he's volunteered as a recruitment coordinator for the University of Waterloo's women's hockey team. From what I understand, we're also lucky to have him here because his daughter's graduation is right around now, so we're very happy to have him.
Wednesday.
Thanks, Bob.
Yeah, thanks. Good afternoon, everyone. I had a grammatical error in the title of this. I don't know if you noticed it, but that's why we hired a communications officer, because I can't write very well. I'll get into that later, but so technology and service. I thought I'd throw this little diagram up there because client services really does touch everything that we do. Certainly the technology, the services that we provide. Lots of people are doing strategic plans and reorganizations, and like it or not, client service is part of all of those things. We've done reorganizations in the past for our central IT department. So what's different this time around from the other times? Clients have been consulted this time around. Lots of times, again, in the past, we did reorgs without really talking to our clients at all. And so that's a big change this time with this reorganization. We started this reorganization back in October. We hope to be finished it by December, and I'll talk more about it as the session goes on. We did an IT strategic plan as well as a reorganization, and we are doing them in parallel, although the IT strategic plan is pretty much wrapped up now. The idea behind the reorganization was to reorganize ourselves around the IT strategic plan, and we use the name Organize for Success. That's what we call our reorganization. So in doing the consultations, we hired a consultant because we thought it would be a whole lot more beneficial if people that didn't know us were out asking faculty, staff, and students how we can do a better job. People might be more open with their feedback if they didn't know who they were speaking with. So the questions the consultants asked were, are there gaps in our services? How can we improve services? How easy are we to do business with? And how can we strengthen relationships and build trust? So what do we learn from that? Well, clients want us to be easy to do business with. They want us to have a can-do attitude. They want to be empowered. They want to optimize the user experience. They want fast and friendly support. They want collaborative and trusting relationships. They want us to understand and leverage trends and innovations. They want us to understand university data and improve processes. They want us to understand their needs. And the last one I just made up to see if you're still listening. But they want a lot. Clients want a lot. And certainly that's one change I've seen over the years I've been at Waterloo, is that the demand from clients is much higher now than it used to be. When we first started the IT strategic plan, it became very clear quickly that we needed to improve client service. And so my staff, I have 40 full-time staff in client services, plus some contract and part-time and co-op students. So the question I was getting from staff, how come they're picking on client services? Because all the way through all the documents with the strategic plan, it says we need to improve client service. Well, it's not improving just the client services group, it's improving all of the IT groups. Because like it or not, client services is part of every IT group in your organization, not just client services. Back in the olden days, we used to joke that we'd take our technical people, put them in the basement, close the door, and throw pizza slices under there once in a while, and they never really had exposure to clients. That's changed now. So strategic plans, really what we want to know from them is what are we supposed to be doing? What do users want from us? We also want to get some early wins in there as we do the strategic plan and the reorganization, just to show that we're listening and that we're making some progress. So the reorganization, as I mentioned, we've called it Organized for Success, or everything gets changed to an acronym, so OFS. So we're positioning our central IT group to best address the initiatives that are outlined in the IT strategic plan. That's the goal. I had a conversation early on last October with our CIO, Dave Wallace, and we talked about when we would do the reorganization. I was kind of thinking, my thought was, shouldn't we know what we're supposed to be doing from the IT strategic plan before we reorganize for success? And he said, well, we can probably speed the whole thing up if we do it in parallel. And he was right. It has speeded up the whole process because we can adjust as we move along. I was asked to sit in with our computer science faculty. They're doing a strategic plan as well, and I think a lot of faculties have done them. And it was a one-day retreat at a local hotel. So I was surprised to find that their strategic plan, they talked about a lot of the same things that we talk about in our central IT strategic plan. So guess what? Improving client services was one of the key areas that they wanted to do. Their faculty, their researchers, and their staff wanted to know who to contact when a IT problem arises. They want to know how to submit a ticket and how to follow it. And the real key thing for them is wanting to know who do they go to if their key contact person is away. They talked about facility improvement. So they wanted to talk about how to improve their e-classrooms, for example. They want to talk about new services, new IT services for their faculty members, particularly the ones doing research. And they wanted to talk about project management improvements. It's kind of scary, actually, when you start to see how people are doing project management on campus, very loosey-goosey, no formality, no accountability, no deadlines, that kind of stuff. So a focus is now on project management. What else are we hearing? Well, we need better communication. A lot of times, and we're not picking on the technical IT staff, but a lot of times when they send out communication to clients would call and say, what does that mean? I have no idea what that means. So they want clear, easy to understand communication from our central IT department. I used to chair, we have computing support reps in every department on campus, and I used to chair those meetings. And I had people so I would have people speak who did some very easy to understand topics, and then I'd usually throw in some technical topics just to get those people from the back hall out into the public to speak. But then I had some people who attended those meetings, and they told me, when you're going to do that part of the meeting, just tell me and I'll leave, because I don't want to hear all the technical information. I don't need that information. Clients need to know who to talk to. So these are clients like faculty, staff, and students on campus. We also heard that we need to create IT training programs for IT staff. I'll talk more about that in a few minutes. The key there is, again, we do IT training programs for staff and faculty and students, but the focus seems to be, there's a lot more focus on training programs for IT staff, formalized training programs. Service level agreements for departments and faculties. This is an initiative we're just starting to get into. I think I have staff who are assigned to all the faculties and also to what we call them academic support departments on campus, but people like the registrar's office and so on. So people are assigned there. I have the arrangements that we have for the faculties is different by faculty. So some faculties have a full-time IT staff member and they may have a co-op student or two. Some may have more than that, and some have less than that. And then, so I get asked at meetings, why is it different for every faculty? And the answer is simply, I don't know why. Those arrangements were verbal arrangements made many years ago. I had nothing to do with them. It's probably time to revisit that. So I'll talk more about service level agreements a little bit later. We want to improve our service desk procedures, strive for one-stop shopping. We're going to implement ITIL best practices. What else are we hearing? We're hearing from our IT staff that they don't have time for innovation. They're just busy keeping the lights on. We need to do a better job of project management in central IT and also in IT groups across the campus. We need to be more accountable. We need to provide a better user experience for those that use our corporate applications. So usability is huge. I go to the meetings for our Associate Deans of Computing, and this was a big topic, especially through the IT strategic plan, is that our big corporate systems are not easy to use, especially by faculty members who may only use them at one time of the year, and they've got to relearn how to use it every time they sit down there, and they don't like that too much. Better communication. So I mentioned we recently, just a couple of months ago, we now have a communications officer, and what does that person do? Well, they take long, complicated communication and make it short and simple to understand. The challenge is to get all IT staff to use that service of the communications officer. So every time I get a chance, I plug the services of the communications officer. So use our communications officer. It's kind of, there are people who really don't like others wordsmithing their communication, but it's amazing the difference, the before and after. The communication that the communication officer receives versus what it looks like when she's finished with it, it's amazing. She does such a terrific job. Our communications officer is certainly versed in social media and looking at all the social media avenues like Twitter, and you know what they are. Not only is the communication officer charged with communicating better for our central IT, but also looking at communicating better within our IT groups. And that's a big problem. In our building, we have IT people in the same group that work on the first floor and sixth floor. I can't tell you how many times I've said that impedes our communication. It's all in the same building, but different floors. But people use that as an excuse that they can't communicate with the people on the sixth floor because they got to go up the elevator. Anyway, that's something that the communications officer is certainly looking at on how to improve communication within our own IT department. Communications officer needs to be available outside normal operating hours. So if something happens in the evenings and weekends, the communications officer needs to be available to help with whatever communication needs to be done. Avoid panic. Yeah, we've had IT staff send emails to the campus, which raise a lot of eyebrows and create panic on campus, to be frank. So we don't want to do that. We do want everything going through our communications officer. Is communication a challenge at your university? I'm going to take a break here. How many people would say yes? Okay, so quite a few, most people. How many people have a dedicated, assigned communications officer? Okay, not as many. How many people think you need one? Okay. I want to talk a little bit about IT training for IT staff. Lots of discussion about how to attract new IT talent, whether they're graduates out of university. One of the things that we talk about is providing formalized training for our IT staff so that they do have a path to follow and if they want to learn new things. When I go through a hiring process, I'm often told that having a career path is really important to new staff so they can see how they can advance. So we're looking at providing formalized training. We do provide courses in office applications and so on, but this would be IT training in specific IT topics. Right now, and I've done this for 30 years, I organize a seminar every Friday morning, and it's aptly named the Friday Morning Seminars, for our staff on campus to learn something new about IT on campus. So I chair a group that has about 20 people in it from across campus, and they come to these Friday morning seminars about various topics to learn a little bit. And you think, you're not going to learn a lot in 45 minutes, but it kind of makes you aware of what's going on in terms of IT on campus. And those have been very successful. We run them from September through to the end of June. And we have a room, seats about 35, 40 people, and most times the room is full. We also do a recording and webcasting of those sessions. If the presenter is okay with that, we don't pressure anybody. We do want people to volunteer to do these things. So it's great for that. It's also great for people that are maybe going to a conference and haven't done a presentation before. They'd like a little bit of practice, get some feedback and so on. So it's good for that as well. It's also great for project updates. So if you're doing a project on whatever, and you'd like to just provide an update to the campus, 45 minutes is all you need. I often ask people and say, oh, 45 minutes, I don't think I could use 15 minutes. And I say, well, it doesn't matter. We'll just go with that. And often I have to pull them off the stage because they're speaking way longer than 45 minutes. So I make sure the seminars start on time and they end on time. So 45 minutes, whether you're done or not, you're coming off the stage. Frequent pay increases, so back to the attracting IT staff, attracting new graduate students or to your IT department. It's challenging because the university, at least Waterloo, we don't get frequent pay increases. So you can't really use that as leverage to attract new talent. In Waterloo, my future son-in-law, my daughter's getting married in July. He just started with an IT startup company. I think he's had about 3 raises in the past 6 months, and I'm saying to him, well, you wouldn't get that at the university. So it's very tough to compete for students. So what kind of IT training are we looking at? Well, there's certainly on-site courses, off-site courses, web-based training, conferences. When I talk to people in the faculties that do IT, I was surprised that not very many of them get an opportunity to go to a conference. And that's a great way to, as you know, that's why you're here, to learn new things and meet new people that you can collaborate with in your career. You need a budget for this, and you need somebody to coordinate it. It takes time to coordinate courses. That group of 20 that I talked about, we did there was a suggestion to do a 1-day course on Microsoft Server 2012. And I said, listen, I don't have time to coordinate that. How about you coordinate it? And he said, okay. And then when it was over, he said, I'll never do that again. He said, it took me forever to get that thing organized. And everything was, of course, when you do that, it's Murphy's Law, everything happens. But it does take time. It's not easy to do those things, but it's well worth it. The course was great, and everybody came away with a really good opinion of it. What about IT training for IT staff in your areas? Anybody have anything they'd like to share about what you do for your IT staff? Yes.
We just recently implemented something very similar to yours. We usually have a weekly status update meeting for our client services division.
Okay.
And we've kind of done that now once a month. One of those updates is exactly this type of thing. Somebody presents for 45 minutes on any topic they have of interest. And what's very interesting to me, and one of the things that's drawn out from my staff, is they have backgrounds that are sometimes outside of IT, but they bring very strong skill sets. It happens that one of our people that works on our call center used to run in a 911 environment. And so he's got crisis management training and all that other stuff. I had no idea. Like, it showed up sort of on the bottom of his resume.
Right.
So he's bringing some tremendously powerful skills to our service desk.
Yeah,
So,
super. Great skills to have, the 911. Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, related to the conferences, I've been going to more within a faculty of education. So I've been going to conferences that are focused on education with faculty members. So it's easier to understand what they want to do. Very often, as IT people will complain about the faculty member who shows up at the door saying, "Hey, I saw this great tool. I want to do it tomorrow." But when you don't really understand what it is that they're trying to achieve with that tool.
Right.
By going with them to, and they're not, they may be non-technical type conferences, but if they are ones that are relevant to what your clients are expecting,
Right.
it can be very helpful.
Yeah. One of the things in my group, I have a rule. If you go to a conference, you're going to do one of those Friday morning seminars when you come back from the conference to tell us what you learned. So often, I think people go away to conferences and then they come back and never share the information that they learned. So that 45 minutes, and last Friday I had 3 staff go to DrupalCon because we were a Drupal institution, so they went to that. And I'm not a Drupal person, but I went to the seminar just to see what they learned, and also to determine whether or not I wanted to spend the money to send 3 more people to the next DrupalCon. But it's really useful for me too. I mean, I'm not there to learn about Drupal, but I was there to learn about what they learned. And again, very useful. Service level agreements. So what is a service level agreement? So a service level agreement is a negotiated agreement, keyword negotiated, between 2 parties. One is the customer and the other is a service provider. So that's the Wikipedia definition. So we've just started this process, and I actually talked to Jennifer Burns at UBC. I think it was at a Cuccio meeting about 2 or 3 years ago. And Jennifer is talking to me about their service level agreement initiative. And Jennifer sent me a template of what they use. And I used that template to just get us started. We have different information, but that's fine. So I've done 2 service level agreements with the Registrar's Office and with our Communications and Public Affairs Office. I have somebody else working on the service level agreement for our housing department. But the goal is to do it for our 50 departments on campus and our 6 faculties. And again, what I'm finding is that as time goes on, for example, in our Communications and Public Affairs department, their director phoned me and she said, we've always hired an IT person. And she said, I don't want anything to do with IT. How about you hire somebody and assign them to Communications and Public Affairs? So we did that. And but they had different expectations of what our people normally would do. So we had to document that. So there are no surprises. That's the key, no surprises. And certainly our housing people, the IT support they provide, it's much different than what perhaps the IT people in the other areas. Students don't get up till noon, so they need to be there in the evenings. You need to get that in the service level agreement, that's the expectation, that you have IT people available in the evenings, or you have people available, IT people available on move-in days to make sure they can get connected to the campus network. So all of those things are really important. It's a lot of work. And Jennifer, whereabouts are you with that now?
So every client, so UBC is going through a reintegration process, if you will. So what we're tending to do is work with our faculty and we bring all their staff into a central unit as well as all the technology. When we do that, we negotiate a service level commitment with that faculty. So we probably have about 20 or 30 of them with each unit that we bring on. In addition, we've just gone through a very intensive process for ensuring every major service that we offer to the campus, like email, or virtual service, or storage, also has a service level commitment that's focused to the campus.
Okay, oh, great, thank you. So part of that service level agreement with us is having an account representative for each area. So that's who the areas go to. If they have any issue related to central IT, they have an account rep or account manager, however you want to call it. And that's really important as well. I was talking to our provost and he was asking me, why do we have this sort of service here but not over here? And why do we have these people? And again, I told him I don't know, because those things it was a verbal handshake agreement some years ago. Those people are all gone. I don't know why. And he said, that kind of arrangement's not just in IT at Waterloo, that's all over the campus, all these verbal agreements. So he said, we're going to have to get into these service level agreements and much more than IT on campus. How many other people do service level agreements on your campus? Yeah, quite a few. That's great. Any words of wisdom or any advice that you can give to people that are just starting out?
Be realistic and make sure that you communicated with the customer very clearly,
Right.
that there is no ambiguity and that somebody expects you to deliver more that you can deliver, and make sure that your service level agreements are underpinned by underpinning contracts with your vendors and your internal OLAs, because you can promise whatever a customer wants it to make this person or this group or this department happy, but then you don't deliver, and this causes a major fiasco.
Yeah. And in addition to when you're hiring somebody, it's a lot easier to hire somebody new and say, oh, by the way, you're working evenings and weekends, than it is to take an existing staff member who's maybe been there 20 years and say, oh, by the way, your hours have changed. That doesn't work too well. So it does provide an opportunity. And as I mentioned, we have a number of departments on campus that have hired their own IT staff over the years. And I can see that swinging away from that because they really don't want to be involved with IT. They want to use the central IT services. They don't, and luckily they don't want to go out and create their own services. So when I get a department on campus saying, well, we want to buy this server to do this and so on, and our co-op students are putting it in, and my first question to them is, who's supporting that server when they leave? Oh, your group is. Oh, I don't think so. Well, we better meet and talk about this. So, yeah. So the much to what Anjay said as well is the service level agreement is a living document. So you don't write a service level agreement and say, well, that's it. We'll see you in 5 years. That doesn't work. So I'm hearing 4 to 6 months. Probably 6 months. You get together again, review it, see how it's going. Make any adjustments that you think you need to make.
Can I add something?
Yeah,
Exactly
sure.
what you said is critical, that in the agreement you have with the customer, you have the clearly specified how frequently you want to review your SLAs.
Yes, yeah. And you need signatures on that last page with the key people involved in it. Improve the service desk. We have a student technical advisory committee, and a student said to me, we want to be able to go to any service desk on campus, get our questions answered no matter what the question is. So I said, well, that's great, but that's a really challenging thing to do. And I probably could challenge you on that and send 10 people. I've always thought I'd love to do this. I'd send 10 people there with 10 different questions, and we'll see how many you can answer. I don't care who you put in that help desk. But it's really different. You can't be an expert in Math Lab and MathCAD and a number of different things. Back in the olden days, you could do that. If you knew Fortran, and in our institution, you knew Script, and you knew SPSS, you had a good shot at answering any question that came to the help desk. That's not the case anymore. It's all changed. There's so many different things. And we have pretty much a help desk in every faculty. And the really beneficial part of that is that those help desks specialize in software that their faculty uses. So GIS systems, for example, if you go to the environment faculty, you'll be able to get that. If you go to the help desk in arts, they're not going to be able to help you. I can guarantee you that, because they don't use that stuff. I know some going to EDUCAUSE and listening to people speak about help desk. Some have, one American university that I'm aware of, they've shut down all their help desks on the whole campus except for one. And so they put, in that case, it's one-stop shopping, because there is only one shop. You go to that help desk and you staff it with people that are very versed in a number of different applications. So that's one way to do it. The person that gave that presentation at EDUCAUSE said he was almost run out of town when he proposed that. But they did it anyway, and it's worked out quite well. The same thing for training labs, or not for training labs, for student computer labs. Same thing, they closed them all down. Great way to save space on campus. Everybody's struggling with space, and make one big central one with high-powered workstations that has all the applications you'd ever want. And again, he said he was almost run out of town for that, and he survived, and it's working out quite well for them. So different approaches. I don't see us going that way, but interesting to think about. Training for service desk staff, documenting, you hear about knowledge bases. We have not done a good job with that at all. We need to do, we've just finished a project to replace our request tracking system. And one of the key criteria was a knowledge base. So we're gonna be doing that, spending some time on that. Standardized services for all service desks, again, using the ITIL approach. ITIL best practices. One of the biggest problems that I've seen over the years is somebody comes into the service desk, they have a problem with MathCAD. They said, oh, you need to go see Will Lewis on the second floor. So they go see Will and they knock on the door and Will's gone on vacation for 6 weeks. They get the runaround, okay? And then that particular request is lost. But if the request is owned by the person who takes it, doesn't mean they have to solve the problem, but they own it until it's resolved, then you have some tracking. So our new request tracking system will have a knowledge base. It'll have metrics. I've never been able to get any metrics out of our request tracking system. I just want to know how many requests we've solved in the last year. I can't get that information. Now with this new request tracking system, I will be able to get that. Asset management tool goes along with it. So a problem gets called in from anywhere on campus. The person at the help desk should be able to, at the click of a button, know exactly what kind of workstation that person's on, know exactly what operating system they have, and so on and so on. Communication and support tools. We use things like BOMGAR, so that allows you, I don't know how many people use BOMGAR. It's a great tool to do service remotely. So if you don't want to walk across campus to do something easy on a workstation, you can just connect to it remotely. The chat facility, students love chatting. They hate sending email. But if they can chat with the help desk person and ask a quick question or whatever, that works great. They love that. Organized access, this is my pet peeve, one of my pet peeves. Organized access to second and third level support. When we're doing this reorganization, I said, let's put these people in the service desk, we'll get better service. Let's put those second and third level people in the service desk and see if our service goes up, see if people are happier. You're not going to please the people that are doing that second and third level support, but at least, so that's not going to happen. But at least you can make them aware that they are part of client service. Even though they work down in that basement, they are part of client services and they will get people approaching them with problems. So don't slam the door in their face. I knew a developer once who took a job at a local company and he wanted to see what it was like to be a service desk person. He was a developer kind of person. He was the guy that used to slam the doors. So he hated being on the service desk because for that reason, when he would go to one of the developers, and he said he had to do that a lot because he didn't know anything about their product, he just came away just with a really bad feeling and he quit. He said it was too much stress. So just getting people that can provide second and third level support in a mindset that they're going to be part of the client service on your campus and they are going to be approached with questions, maybe from other help desk staff, maybe from client services or anybody on campus. So, a common thing, I sometimes got calls from third level people and say, this client from over in this faculty phoned me today. And I said, and they didn't like that. I got the 5 minutes on, so I'm gonna have to start going through this fairly fast. If you hire technical staff today, they're going to be much more technical than they were 10 years ago when you hired. People out looking for jobs now, they know a lot of stuff. Talked about that already. Finding time for innovation, talked about that. Just, we're busy keeping the lights on, making the services, make sure they are going well. Everybody in all the strategic plans I've been to, they're always saying we don't have enough staff. Guess what? That's not likely to change. It's not going to get any better that way. Need to do a better job. We're with our reorganization, we are going to do a project management office. And how many people have a project management office? Okay. How many are thinking of putting one in? Okay. So I was at Cuccio last February. I was at University of New Brunswick, and I We had some breakaway sessions, and I did a project management office session with some people that had some experience. So most people ran their project management office as a center of excellence. So they provided things like templates and so on for project leaders to use. They were really there to help projects succeed, not run the projects. So certainly training was part of it. They suggested, and these are the CIOs, they suggested communicating the role of your project management office to central IT as well as to the campus. Get buy-in for all IT governing bodies before proceeding with the campus IT project. I could speak about an hour on that topic, but if you have your central IT department and you are going to initiate a big IT initiative, I'll take the example of Drupal, which is a web content management system, and then you got people pushing back on that. I bet you we've spent 3 years trying to get buy-in from across the campus on a Drupal web content management system. We have one faculty left to get in, but that's just draining to try to convince people not to have their own Drupal servers. And so if you can get that central buy-in and almost get them to sign the dotted line, that just makes life so much easier. Project management training is important. I often send my staff to Agile project management training. It's a 3-day course. They come back, they know about scrums and so on, the benefits of scrums. Anybody who knows Agile knows what that is. We have 2 new groups in our new organization. Enterprise architecture. We got a new CIO last July. I can tell you, a year ago, I didn't even know what enterprise architecture was. So he's real keen about that, and so we're going to have an enterprise architecture group. Maybe I'll come back next year and tell you how that worked out. Portfolio management group, that's where our project management will go. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. So through our reorganization, our previous, we didn't call it a CIO, it was a provost, was really promoted flat organizations. So I have 40 people, I have no managers. Right, when this reorg's done, I'll have 4 managers, and that to me will be really nice in the sense that I'll actually be able to maybe get out and talk to people more than I'm able to now. So I have a customer relations and support manager. Those are the people that work in the faculties and the academic support departments. We have a communications and training manager. So that person is the communications and does communications for the communications officer and our training programs. We call it SO, Skills for the Electronic Workplace. And there's some other areas in there which I can't name because we don't announce this to our staff until I guess 2 weeks from today, I think it is. Had to change my slides a couple times because I thought we'd be further along. Service desk manager and a web development and support manager. Some people might say, why is that in client services? Why is web development and supporting in client services? Because that's where it's been, it's working well. We're not going to change it just yet, but that will change. Someday that will change. I don't think I need to spend a lot of time on drilling down a lot of these things. The Federated Model, back in the 80s, we had a very centralized campus. It became totally decentralized. Now we're going through the process of trying to bring a little bit back, but we realize we're not going to bring it all back. It's going to be a federated. That's a term we use on our campus all the time. Federated, we all help in our IT initiative. And this goes through help desk, application champions. You know, there's a lot of expertise in our central IT group on applications, but we don't know it all. There's a lot of expertise out in the faculties where they know applications we don't know. Well, why not work together and provide that? Governance. I talked a little bit about this. We need to talk to each other more in terms of what each other is doing, and there's no point in recreating the wheel several times. You need buy-in from your highest IT governing body to approve projects and implement campus-wide IT. Again, for the reason I mentioned before, it's so much easier. You don't have to bang heads for 2 or 3 years just to get Drupal's doing the same thing as what the central IT server does. It's just a waste of time. Duplicate, and you can use that money for innovation, or use that time for innovation. Why are you using time to just keep the same kinds of services going that is in different parts of the university? Succession planning, I think this is the last slide. There's going to be a lot of retirements at the University of Waterloo in the next 5 years. So that's good and bad. Good news is it provides opportunities for people. The bad news is a lot of knowledge lost. And you know, when I mentioned my own group with no managers, it's going to be nice to be able to have some time. I've got about 4 years left before I retire, to have some time to actually train people to be a manager. It's a different world. It's not for everybody. You know, if you really want to concentrate on the technical stuff, then maybe management role is not for you. So training people to be managers is going to be key. Need to attract new talent, need to provide management training, I mentioned that. The next year, the reorganization done by the end of 2013, we have to create those service level agreements. We got to improve we have a service catalog, it's not very good, we have to improve that. We have to improve our websites as well. And we have to implement ITIL best practices. How am I doing? I'm out.
Good.
Okay.
If we could do Q&A as soon as possible.
All right. I think we're there.
Excellent. Do you have any questions from the room?
Sorry, I had to rip through a few slides. I was like the Friday morning seminar guy, they have to pull off the stage.
We do have a couple questions from online.
Okay.
First one is, given what users want listed at the start, what are your metrics to determine and show if you are achieving these goals?
Yeah, that I think it was part of our IT strategic plan, is to implement metrics so that we can determine if we're, exactly what you said, meeting those goals. So how we do that, I think the last thing I heard was we need some training on how to do that, because we're not really sure. That's a good question. So I think we need some. Does anybody have any advice on how to do that?
Could you crowdsource it?
Crowdsourcing, yeah.
All right, next question. Are you going to have a single SLA for the campus, or an SLA with each different department? And if yes, then how are you going to manage all the SLAs?
Well, certainly with each academic, I call them academic support or administrative office, about 50 of those. We'll have one for each of those. We'll have one for each of our faculties. And I think in Jennifer's idea of having one for your central core services, like email, that would be for the campus.
Yeah, because you can have per customer, per service.
Yeah,
And
that's right.
You can manage them accordingly.
And certainly like your web content management system, we probably need an SLA for that. So when it goes down on Friday night, are we going to be ensuring the system is brought up that night, or do we wait till Monday?
Any questions from the room? We've got time for about one more question, so I'm going to pick one at random from those two, unless somebody has any preference. So I'm going to read, does your IT strategic plan build on your academic plan, or is it built separately?
They're pretty much separate. I was invited to go to the computer science faculty plan, but pretty much the faculties are doing their own. But a good topic would be to have those plans presented to your top governing body IT group, so that everybody is aware of what's in those plans and how central IT can help with those plans. So you got to communicate the plans, I think, to get the most success out of them. Okay.
Thanks very much, Bob.
Okay, thank you.